400 million miles from Earth exists a mini solar system of over 60 moons rotating around a powerful planet of gas. Its flowing colors and spots hold strange beauty, but contain violent storms and jet streams. Could this big, bright ball of weather have been the Star of Bethlehem? Could one of its moons harbor life beneath its icy crust?
We expect that branches of life will exist on Europa, just simply because water is the key feature.
I want to go ice fishing on Europa. Cut a hole, put a submersible, look around, see if anything swims up to the camera lens and licks the camera. That's what I want to do.
And does our own planet owe its survival to this massive cosmic magnet? Jupiter, the giant planet. Jupiter is 500 million miles from the Sun, a giant sphere of intrigue. This churning ball of gas may look like an artist's rendering, but it's the real thing.
Jupiter has the most exotic weather patterns we've ever seen in the solar system.
Jupiter is 84% hydrogen and almost 14% helium, the two lightest and most abundant elements in the universe, rolled into a mammoth mass.
This thing is 11 times the diameter of Earth, and you could take 1,000 Earths and stuff them inside Jupiter comfortably.
Jupiter really is the lord of the solar system. You know, about 70% of the mass in all the planets is in Jupiter. If you're talking about planets, Jupiter is the big boy in the block, and it really does rule the roost.
Jupiter is the largest planet in the solar system, visible to the naked eye. A day is only 9.9 hours long, and it takes 11.86 years to orbit the Sun. A 150-pound person would weigh 350 pounds on Jupiter. There are thunderclouds made of ammonia, sulfur, and water. Exploring Jupiter would be NASA's most daring mission to date. It's a hostile place with temperature extremes from frigid to fiery. Its electromagnetic radiation is intense. It could kill a traveler to the planet in an instant.
We would need heavy lead protection, and that's very difficult to lift off the ground. So we have some difficult engineering challenges to actually bring human beings to the planet Jupiter.
A landing on Jupiter is not going to happen. Jupiter itself is a very gassy planet. It's made of gas, so you would not have a solid surface on which to land and walk around. You would just keep descending through the clouds and then be eventually crushed by the pressure of Jupiter's atmosphere. That make a human trip to Jupiter quite a challenge.
But what if we could go there? Dr. Andrew Ingersoll is an authority on the planet. He takes us for a ride.
You need a special kind of balloon because Jupiter's atmosphere is hydrogen. Hydrogen is the lightest gas. A helium balloon would sink. So the only thing that'll float in a cold hydrogen atmosphere is hot hydrogen. And so you need a hot air hydrogen balloon.
For the past 10 years, NASA has been developing ultra-long duration balloons for robotic exploration. And as we all know, heating hydrogen is a tricky thing. But just how this behemoth was born is a puzzle.
The formation of Jupiter is the greatest mystery associated with the planet.
Some believe Jupiter may have been a failed star. Like the Sun, it had the right ingredients, hydrogen and helium, but not enough mass to create the internal pressure and temperature necessary to have nuclear fusion. So it became a planet instead.
The thought is that there was this cloud in the galaxy that had the same composition as the Sun. And it collapsed under its own gravity, and some stuff was left behind, and that stuff became the planets. And the majority of that stuff became Jupiter, and the rest of it, of course, went into the Sun, and then there were a couple of little tiny leftovers like Earth.
Jupiter's spinning gases attracted like elements, and over time grew bigger and bigger in the process. Almost like an oyster creating layers around a grain of sand to make a pearl. What gases and solids Jupiter didn't ingest, it spat out into space.
So Jupiter is like your big brother in the schoolyard, protecting you from bullies that might wreak havoc on your existence.
I tend to think of it as more of the cosmic frisbee guy. It's grabbing things out of space, and it's also tossing them back out. It ends up keeping those objects from the inner solar system where Earth and Mars and Venus are.
By cleaning some of the debris up, kicking some of it out, shooting some of it into the Sun, where it'd be lost forever, Jupiter cleaned out a path that the other planets could exist in some sort of peace.
So dominant is this frisbee phenomenon, Earth may owe its very existence to Jupiter.
It influences the courses of comets and even some meteors and asteroids, so that over the eons, the fact that Jupiter is there helps dictate what happens in the inner solar system. So really, the presence of Jupiter may be one reason why we have life on Earth and habitability and be able to have the Earth a nice environment instead of getting pummeled by so many comets.
There is no greater proof of Jupiter's power play than what happened during a 7-day period in July of 1994. A comet called Shoemaker-Levy 9 barreled toward Jupiter. Once under Jupiter's influence, there was no going back. A missile was on a crash course with a ball of gas. Jupiter's gravitational pull was so great that it broke the comet into small pieces that came in one at a time. These pieces assaulted the planet at a speed of 37 miles per second.
When you have a missile going at supersonic speeds, you get a shock. You can see sort of clouds of material being jetted up from beneath where it landed.
One of the fireballs generated by the collision with Jupiter's atmosphere flared 1,800 miles into space.